So we're back again with our commentary videos with dealing with the documents that you're receiving this week pertaining to our chapter 8, wherein we're still analyzing the Industrial Revolution. We're still analyzing the emergence and the expansion of the Industrial Revolution, but now we're looking at those social, geographic, political, and economic implications that came as a result of it. And the examples are imperialism, nationalism, and these militaristic movements, resistance movements that ended us in a worldwide conflict. This is where we are in chapter 8. So I'm going to do some reading from this document and summarizing. This document is going to be yours to have, so feel free to go into it, dig deep, break down these paragraphs, look up words. When you don't know the words, you're not going to understand anything. So you have to stop and look up words. But everything that I read, I try my best to explain it. But I'm going to need you to become more proficient in reading a document and being able to stop and break down the information. Read some more, stop, break down the information. So this is a brief outline of the First World War, defining World War I. And it says here, those who fought in World War I believed they were fighting for noble reasons, for defense against aggression, for the love of one's country, and for glory. Coming into the war, they were fueled by the ideals of nationalism, liberalism, democracy, and religious freedom. After the armistice of November 11th of 1918, an armistice is a ceasefire. Okay, that means we're going to stop shooting. After this armistice, November 11th of 1918, World War I came to be defined by our need to find the meaning for such losses. Exactly what was the significance of the First World War? Was this not the same message John McCrae had given expression to 3.5 years before armistice in his poem In Flanders Fields? And this poem, we'll reproduce this poem, and we'll have that as a part of a later document this week for you to analyze. John McCrae struggled to make some sense out of a senseless war. His plea, if ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, was made on behalf of the fallen soldiers, but it is one that has been embraced by the generations that followed. In this 90th year since the end of World War I and since the death of John McCrae, the struggle to find some justification for the loss of so many still remains, not just in the war to end all wars, but in every major conflict since World War I. This was supposed to be the war to end all wars. We were not supposed to have to fight anymore. We were supposed to prove the point. We were supposed to say, okay, already. And look what happened. We ended up with a World War II. Possibly we're going to go into a World War III. So let's keep reading. John McCrae already said that. World War II, they called it an accidental war. It shaped the 20th century. It launched the United States as a world superpower and helped Commonwealth countries like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand find a sense of national identity. World War I fueled the Russian Revolution and her ascent as the world's first communist state. The First World War helped occupied countries like Poland, Yugoslavia, and Hungary to gain their independence, but it also set the stage for World War II only a couple decades later. Yet, World War I began almost by accident. The Serbian and Austro-Hungarian conflict. Here's the problem. Back to the guy that went and just shot the other guy because Russia was like, hey, we're your friends, and we're your friends. You don't have to worry about it. If you do something, we'll have your back. That's what Russia said to Serbia, pretty much. So there were three great European powers at the start of the 20th century: the Austro-Hungarian, the Russians, and the Ottoman Empire. Neither of those is the United States. Neither of those. But at the turn of the 20th century, those were the most powerful countries in the world. The Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the Russians. So on June 28th of 1914 in Sarajevo, Serbia, a man named Gavrilo Princip, in an act of terrorism, assassinated the heir apparent of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The Austro-Hungarian Empire contained up to 10 different nationalities and kept the peace on western borders. It was ruled by Franz Ferdinand's uncle, Franz Joseph, who had been in power for 66 years. Serbia had set itself up as an independent state by 1914 and viewed Franz Joseph and the Austro-Hungarian Empire as the oppressive, undemocratic enemy. Serbia hoped to somehow break up the Austro-Hungarian Empire and oppose any kind of friendship. So your neighbors, and you just don't like what your neighbor is doing, and you just feel like you're going to go over there and create a problem, pretty much because your Russian friends are over there egging you on. Unlike his uncle, Franz Ferdinand believed in political reform. As the emperor in waiting, his ideals were radical. He believed that after decades of oppressive ruling, the existing political system was one that simply could not last. He wanted to avoid war with Serbia and felt that minorities within the empire would look to other countries for help if they didn't have the power to govern themselves within the empire. His vision was to create a new empire called the United States of Great Austria, in hopes of developing a peaceful coexistence with Serbia. However, Archduke Franz Ferdinand's decision to visit Sarajevo on June 28th of 1914 was ill-conceived, in that this was Serbian National Day. Austria-Hungary viewed the assassination as Serbia's declaration of war against Austria-Hungary, achieving the exact opposite of what Franz Ferdinand had hoped for. Then there were these alliances, and this is where we're going to end this video. Serbia's great ally was Russia. The Austro-Hungarian ally was Germany. In its decision to back Austria-Hungary, Germany failed to consider the consequences and neglected to find out exactly what Austria-Hungary was planning. Germany felt like Russia would stay out of the conflict in order to avoid internal revolution. The German Kaiser was so confident that Russia would not want to go to war that he immediately left for vacation. You didn't, because they knew Russia was having some problems. So they felt like, y'all know y'all don't want to get involved in this over here. Y'all already dealing with y'all stuff over there. Why don't y'all just stay over there and worry about your stuff? The Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. Worry about that. Yeah, but declarations of war. The powers of Europe were divided into two main divisions, with Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy comprising one camp, France and Russia making up the other. If Germany backed Austria-Hungary against Serbia and the Russians backed Serbia, then Germany would be forced to go to war against Russia and Russia's allies, France. This is exactly what happened. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28th of 1914. Then Germany declared war on Russia on August the 1st of 1914. Then Germany declared war on France on August the 3rd, since France was an ally of Russia. Britain declared war on Germany on August the 4th after Germany invaded neutral Belgium. Belgium didn't even have anything to do with it. So, okay, I mean, we get why you might have decided to go over there and invade France, even though, like, France didn't really do anything to you, and Germany already kind of didn't like France a little bit, remember? So this is a whole situation where there's this pettiness and these small things that have created this big thing. But yeah, that's a lot of declarations of war. Britain had initially been asked by Russia to back Russia. And France, however, Britain's decision to enter the war was more out of protecting Britain's global trade and security interests. Britain's empire also extended into colonies in South Africa and India, but Britain was not powerful enough to defend her vast empire without the help of France and Russia. In Europe, the neutral countries of Belgium, Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania, and Croatia were caught in the middle. In Belgium alone, over 11 million people lived under the German occupation. Then the U.S. entered the war. We didn't want to get in it. I'm going to have to show you something, a video that's going to show you how did the U.S. even get in the war. This whole big situation, the sinking of the Lusitania. That's how we ended up in it. So Britain, anyhow, let me go back to the right place. U.S. enters the war. Throughout the first 3 years of the war, the United States remained neutral, even though the German submarines had sunk the civilian cruise liner, the Lusitania, on May 7th of 1915 and bombed the munitions storage docks in New York Harbor shortly thereafter. So, okay, you're shooting at the United States did not want to get into this. But if you're shooting at us and you're sinking our boat, what do you think is going to happen? So, yeah, they get in because of this stuff. Throughout the war, the United States was supplying munitions, guns, and supplies to both the Allies and the Central Powers. in essence, the war was excellent for the American economy. Everybody's buying guns from us. We're just going to sit here and smile. You know how somebody's going to get mad about that. So, yeah, it's great for the American economy. The U.S. joined the Allies on April 6th of 1917, only after discovering from British intelligence that Germany, okay, listen, Germany had been secretly encouraging Mexico to declare war on the United States. And with that, that was the last straw. Mexico is our right downstairs neighbor, and we really hadn't had outside of people coming across the borders and the Mexican-American War. Yeah, there was that whole thing. But we've been kind of cool with them since that point in time, with the killing of Indians. We didn't need any additional problems between us and Mexico. So here is where we find Germany is over there in Mexico making conversation about why don't y'all just go and declare war on them, because you know they're this, and you know they're helping our enemies. And so yeah, when we get to the Treaty of Versailles, and you know Germany really gets the short end of the stick, it's kind of all these little shady things that they had done made it look like you're responsible, you're the reason this is all like it is. So it's a very complex and complicated war, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So I'm hoping that you'll get more out of it as we continue the read. So this is going to end for this video. We have other videos. Please make sure you take your facts, write your notes, so that you can do a good job. Thanks. Have a great day.